150 million people. 150 million people stopped what they were doing on the morning of October 3rd, 1995. They left their offices. They crowded around televisions and shop windows. They pulled their cars over on the freeway and turned up the radio. Restaurants went silent. Stock trading floors went silent. Schools went silent. An entire nation held its breath at the same moment. Not for a war, not for an election, for a verdict. The verdict of the most explosive criminal trial in the history of the United States of America. A trial that lasted 252 days. It cost $40 million. That featured 9 DNA experts, 72 witnesses, and 45,000 pages of transcript. A trial that divided an entire country, not just by opinion, but by race, by class, by everything Americans had been arguing about for 200 years and had never fully resolved. And at the center of all of it, one man. A man who had been the most beloved athlete in America. A man whose face had been on cereal boxes and television commercials and the covers of every sports magazine in the country. A man whose smile was worth $100 million. A man who, 16 months earlier, had been sitting in the back of a white Ford Bronco with a gun to his own head, threatening to kill himself on live national television while 95 million people watched. His name is Orenthal James Simpson. He is 47 years old. He is standing in a courtroom in Los Angeles, and he is about to find out if he's going to prison for the rest of his life or walking out of that building a free man. The clerk stands up. The room stops breathing, and she reads, "We, the jury, in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder." OJ Simpson closes his eyes. His lawyer grabs his arm. One African-American juror pumps his fist in the air. And in the gallery, the family of Ron Goldman collapses. His father Fred buries his face in his hands and sobs. His sister Kim turns away. They cannot watch, because 2 people they loved are dead. And the man they believe killed them is standing 10 feet away, free. Outside the courthouse, Los Angeles erupts, in black neighborhoods across the city, cheering, celebrations, a sense of something like justice finally arriving after decades of watching the system work against them. In white neighborhoods, silence, disbelief, rage, one verdict, one city, 2 completely different realities. Russian President Boris Yeltsin, the leader of the largest country on earth, is meeting with President Bill Clinton in Washington that same week. His first question to the American president is not about nuclear weapons or the Cold War or trade policy. It is, do you think OJ did it? That is how big this is. That is how far this story reaches. The entire planet is watching one courtroom in Los Angeles, and the question that every single one of them is asking, the question that 150 million Americans ask, in the same moment on the morning of October 3rd, 1995, is the same question you're asking right now. Did he do it? Stay with me. Because by the time this documentary is over, you will have every single piece of evidence, every secret the trial kept from you, every moment that changed everything, and then you can decide for yourself. To understand how a man goes from the most beloved athlete in America to sitting in a courtroom on trial for double murder, you have to understand who he was before any of this happened. Because OJ Simpson was not just famous. OJ Simpson was mythological. July 9th, 1947, San Francisco, California. Orenthal James Simpson is born in the Potrero Hill housing projects, one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. His father leaves when he is 4 years old. He grows up with a single mother, Eunice, who works the night shift at a psychiatric ward and comes home at dawn to make sure her children get to school. They have almost nothing. But OJ has something that cannot be bought or taught or practiced into existence. He can run. He runs the way that makes other athletes stop and stare. Not just fast, impossibly fast, fluid, effortless. Like the laws of physics are different for him than for everyone else on the field. At the University of Southern California, he does not just play football, he becomes the definition of it. In 1968, he wins the Heisman Trophy, the highest individual honor in college football. He does not win it narrowly. He wins it by the largest margin in the award's history at that point. He is so dominant that people start saying his name like it is a new word for something the language did not have before. They call him the Juice. He goes to the Buffalo Bills in 1969. In 1973, he becomes the first running back in NFL history to rush for over 2,000 yards in a single season. 2,000 yards. In a 14-game season, a record that stands for years. He does not just break the record, he obliterates it. But what makes OJ Simpson different from other great athletes, what makes him the kind of famous that transcends sports entirely, is what happens off the field. He is magnetic, warm, funny. He laughs easily and makes everyone around him laugh. He has a smile that feels like it is aimed directly at you personally. Madison Avenue notices. He becomes the face of Hertz car rentals, literally running through airports on television, leaping over luggage, grinning at the camera. He becomes the face of everything. Cereal, shoes, films. He appears on television dramas and comedies. He becomes one of the first black athletes to be fully embraced as a mainstream American commercial icon, not a black star for black audiences, but a star for everyone, for all of America. He is, by every external measure, the American dream made flesh, the kid from the projects who became a good. And underneath all of it, underneath the smile and the commercials and the Heisman and the record books, something else is building. Something that the world will not see clearly until the night of June 12th, 1994. Something that Nicole Brown will see much, much sooner than that. Before this becomes a story about a trial and a verdict and a glove, it needs to be a story about Nicole. Because Nicole Brown Simpson is not a supporting character in OJ Simpson's story. She is the story. And the way she was erased from the center of her own narrative is one of the most important things about this entire case. They begin a relationship while OJ is still married to his first wife, Marguerite, with whom he has 3 children. Nicole knows this. She is young. She is in love with a good. They marry in 1985, 2 years after his divorce from Marguerite. Sydney is born in 1985. Justin in 1988. On the surface, a beautiful family, the house in Brentwood. The holidays, the parties, the photographs and magazines. But on New Year's Day, 1989, 4 years into the marriage, Nicole calls 911 from the Brentwood house. She's crying. She is terrified. She says, "He's going to kill me. OJ Simpson has beaten her." Officers respond and find Nicole with a bruised face, a cut lip, a swollen eye. OJ pleads no contest to spousal battery. He is fined. He receives community service and counseling. He does not go to jail. He does not lose any endorsements. The story is barely covered by the press. It is 1989, and the world is not yet ready to talk about what happens in the homes of famous men. Nicole divorces him in 1992. She is done. She moves with the children into her own home in Brentwood, a condominium on South Bundy Drive. She is starting over. She's 33 years old, and she is choosing herself. But OJ Simpson does not accept that she has left him. He calls constantly. He shows up uninvited. He tells her he is watching her. In one incident documented in court records, Nicole tells friends that OJ has been outside her window, watching her have a moment with another man, and that afterward he threatens to kill her if he ever finds her with someone else. She takes this threat seriously enough that she drafts a will. She is 34 years old, and she's writing a will because her ex-husband has told her he will kill her. She also does something that will not be fully understood until after she is dead. She puts together a brown envelope. Inside it, photographs of her injuries, letters from OJ, notes about incidents, a record, evidence, as if she knows that one day someone will need to prove what she went through. She keeps this envelope somewhere safe. It is found after her murder. On June 8th, 1994, 4 days before she is killed, Nicole Brown Simpson calls a women's shelter called Sojourn House. She is considering staying there. She is afraid of what OJ might do. She's refusing his renewed pleas to reconcile. She calls a shelter and considers hiding because she's afraid of her ex-husband. 4 days later, she is dead. Sunday, June 12th, 1994. It starts as a beautiful day. Sydney Simpson, OJ and Nicole's daughter, has a dance recital at Paul Revere Middle School. Both OJ and Nicole attend. They are divorced. They sit apart. After the recital, Nicole goes to dinner with her family at a restaurant called Mezzaluna in Brentwood. She is happy. She's with her children. It is a normal Sunday evening in California. One of the waiters at Mezzaluna is a 25-year-old man named Ron Goldman. He is good-looking, easygoing, the kind of person who lights up a room without trying. He has become friends with Nicole in recent weeks. Genuine friendship, not romantic, though that distinction will be almost completely ignored in the coverage that follows. Ron Goldman has his whole life ahead of him. He is planning to open his own restaurant. He has dreams the size of Los Angeles. After dinner, Nicole's mother realizes she left her glasses at Mezzaluna. Nicole's sister calls the restaurant. Ron Goldman volunteers to drop the glasses off at Nicole's place on his way home. It is literally around the corner from the restaurant. He changes out of his waiter uniform. He gets on his bicycle. He goes to return a pair of glasses. At 9:45 p.m., a neighbor is walking her dog near Nicole's condominium on South Bundy Drive. She hears what she will later describe as a plaintive wail, an animal sound. She does not stop. At 10:15 p.m., another neighbor hears a gate rattling. Their dog is barking frantically, the kind of barking that will not stop. At 10:55 p.m., a man walking his own dog passes South Bundy Drive and sees Nicole's Akita, her dog, wandering alone on the street. The dog is agitated. Its paws are wet. The man follows the dog back toward the condominium. At 12:10 a.m. on June 13th, the bodies of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman are discovered on the path outside Nicole's front gate. The scene is catastrophic. A neighbor who discovers them later describes it as a river of blood. Nicole has been stabbed multiple times. Her throat has been cut so deeply that she is nearly decapitated. Ron Goldman has been stabbed close to 30 times. His body shows the marks of someone who fought back desperately for minutes against his attacker. He has defensive wounds. He did not go quietly. He fought with everything he had. 2 people, 1 quiet path in Brentwood, a Sunday night in June. At the same time the bodies are being discovered, OJ Simpson is on a plane to Chicago for a promotional appearance by the rental car company he represents. He lands in Chicago early in the morning. He is in his hotel room when the phone rings. It is the LAPD. Nicole is dead. He flies back to Los Angeles immediately. When he lands, police are waiting. They handcuff him at his Rockingham estate, standard procedure for someone who may be a witness. They notice something. On his left hand, a fresh cut, a wound that he cannot fully explain. He says he does not know exactly how he got it. He thinks he may have cut himself on a glass in his Chicago hotel room when he heard the news about Nicole. Police also noticed something on his white Ford Bronco, parked outside the Rockingham estate. A smear. On the driver's door, red-brown in color, they send it to the lab. It is blood. 5 days after the murders, on June 17, 1994, the Los Angeles Police Department announces that OJ Simpson has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. They reach an agreement with his lawyers. OJ will turn himself in at 11 a.m. 11 o'clock comes, 11 o'clock goes. OJ Simpson is nowhere to be found. The LAPD holds a press conference. The commander says these exact words: "Mr. Simpson is a fugitive from justice right now." The NBA Finals are on television. Game 5, the Chicago Bulls and the New York Knicks. 95 million people are watching. Then, every network interrupts. Every channel cuts away from the game because a white Ford Bronco has been spotted on the Los Angeles freeway system. And inside it, OJ Simpson in the passenger seat with a gun to his own head. His friend 𝐂𝐫𝐬𝐦𝐞 is driving. What follows is the most surreal hour and a half in the history of American television. Police helicopters follow the Bronco at altitude. News helicopters fly alongside. 20 police cruisers follow at a distance. They will not rush him because the negotiator on the phone is trying to talk him down. Ordinary Los Angeles citizens stand on freeway overpasses and wave as the Bronco passes below them. They hold signs. They cheer for him because they still love him, because the juice is still the juice to them, whatever he may have done. OJ is on the phone with the LAPD negotiator, Detective Tom Lang. The call is recorded. Lang repeatedly pleads with him to put the gun down, to think of his children, to think of his mother, and OJ is crying. He is saying that he is the only one who deserved to get hurt. He is saying he just wants to go to Nicole. He is saying he needs the gun for himself. He is also, at some point during the chase, calling friends. He calls the NBC Sports offices, trying to reach broadcaster Bob Costas. He makes calls. He is saying goodbye. The Bronco eventually arrives at OJ's Rockingham estate. The standoff lasts another 45 minutes in the driveway. And then he gets out. He's arrested. He's taken to the LA County Jail and placed on suicide watch. In his bag, when police search it, they find his passport, a disguise including a fake beard and mustache, and $8,750 in cash. The greatest athlete of his generation, the man with the $100 million smile, arrested in his own driveway, a gun, a disguise, a passport, a bag full of cash. The trial of the century is about to begin. Here's the prosecution's case, and I'm going to lay it out for you in full, because you need to understand what the jury was looking at before you can understand how they came back with their verdict in under 4 hours. The prosecutors call it a mountain of evidence, and when you see it all laid out together, you will understand why. OJ Simpson's blood is found at the murder scene on South Bundy Drive. Not near it, not adjacent to it, at it. Drops of blood on the pathway leading from the bodies toward the back alley. Drops that the DNA lab matches to OJ Simpson, his blood, at the crime scene. Nicole Brown Simpson's blood is found in OJ's white Ford Bronco. On the console, on the steering wheel, on the carpet. Ron Goldman's blood is found in OJ's white Ford Bronco. Both Nicole's and Ron's blood is found at OJ's Rockingham estate. A left-handed glove is found at the crime scene. A matching right-handed glove is found on the path behind OJ's Rockingham estate, behind the guest house where his friend 𝐂𝐫𝐢𝐦𝐞 𝐂𝐚𝐬𝐿 was staying. DNA testing on the glove found at the crime scene shows blood from OJ, Nicole, and Ron Goldman, all 3 of them, on one glove. The gloves are a rare and expensive brand called Aris Isotoner Light, a style so uncommon that investigators are able to trace purchases. Nicole Brown Simpson bought 2 pairs of those exact gloves for OJ's in 1990. A store receipt exists. A bloody footprint is found at the crime scene leading away from the bodies. The footprint matches a size 12 Bruno Magli shoe, a rare Italian brand. OJ Simpson wears a size 12. Investigators find photographs, published before the murders, impossible to have been faked, showing OJ Simpson wearing Bruno Magli shoes of that exact model at a 1993 football event. 31 photographs. A pair of dark socks is found on the floor of OJ's bedroom at Rockingham. Lab testing finds Nicole Brown Simpson's blood on those socks. OJ Simpson has a fresh cut on his left hand that he cannot explain. The murders were committed with a sharp knife. The attacker, based on the wounds, was left-handed. OJ Simpson is left-handed. A witness, a neighbor of Nicole's, sees a man matching OJ's height and build in dark clothing near the scene around the time of the murders. OJ has no alibi. He says he was home. No one can confirm it. The limousine driver sent to take him to the airport says he got no answer from the house for 25 minutes during the window when the murders occurred. Then, OJ appeared. His behavior after the murders is documented and presented. The trip to Chicago, the inability to explain his wound, the Bronco chase, the disguise, the cash, the passport. The prosecution puts all of this in front of the jury and says, this is not reasonable doubt. This is a mountain. This is the evidence of a guilty man. And then Johnny Cochran stands up. And everything changes. OJ Simpson hires lawyers the way he used to run football plays. He does not just find good options. He finds the absolute best available and puts them all on the field at once. The press calls them the Dream Team. And for the defense of a man charged with double murder, it is the right name. Because what Johnny Cochran and his colleagues do in that courtroom is nothing short of extraordinary. Johnny Cochran is 57 years old, and he is, at this point in his career, the finest trial attorney in California. He is not just good in a courtroom, he is electric. He commands a room the way OJ used to command a football field. He is precise. He is theatrical. He is devastating in cross-examination and almost impossible to shake. And he understands something about this trial that the prosecution seems to miss entirely. That the jury is not just evaluating evidence. The jury is human beings with memories, human beings who have lived in Los Angeles their entire lives. 2 years before this trial, Los Angeles burned. The Rodney King verdict, in which 4 LAPD officers were acquitted of beating a black man despite being captured on videotape doing it, triggered 4 days of riots that killed 55 people and caused $1 billion in damage. The LAPD's relationship with the black community of Los Angeles is not complicated. It is poisoned. Decades of documented abuse, racial profiling, planting of evidence, and outright brutality have created a community that does not trust the Los Angeles Police Department, does not trust the evidence they collect, does not trust the witnesses they produce, does not trust anything they touch. Cochran finds the crack in the mountain of evidence. It is a man named Mark Fuhrman. Mark Fuhrman is the LAPD detective who claims to have discovered the bloody glove on the path behind OJ's Rockingham guest house. He is one of the first detectives on the scene. He takes the stand and testifies with the confidence of a veteran officer. And then the defense asks him a question. Have you used the racial slur against black people in the past 10 years? Fuhrman says no. The defense produces tapes, recordings made by a woman named Laura McKinney who interviewed Fuhrman over several years for a screenplay she was writing. On those tapes, Mark Fuhrman uses racial slurs repeatedly, enthusiastically. He describes planting evidence. He describes brutalizing suspects. He's not the professional officer who testified under oath. He is something completely different. Cochran calls Fuhrman back to the stand. He asks him again, "Did you use that slur in the past 10 years?" Fuhrman invokes his Fifth Amendment right. He will not answer. He refuses to answer, because answering would mean admitting he committed perjury. Cochran stands before the jury and asks a question that hangs in the air of that courtroom for the rest of the trial. If this detective lied under oath about his racism, what else did he lie about? If this detective has described planting evidence on tape, what evidence did he plant here? The glove found at Rockingham, the glove that is the prosecution's most powerful single piece of evidence, was found by Mark Fuhrman, alone, before other officers arrived, with no witnesses. And then, the glove moment. The moment that defines this entire trial. The moment that more people remember than any other single moment in American courtroom history. The prosecution asks OJ Simpson to try on the glove. Right there, in front of the jury. Marcia Clark and Christopher Darden believe it will fit. They believe this will nail the verdict. OJ puts on the glove. It does not fit. The prosecution will later say the glove shrank because it was soaked in blood and then frozen and unfrozen as evidence. They will say OJ was intentionally not bending his fingers properly. They will say many things, but none of it matters in the moment. In the moment, the most televised criminal. Trial in history just showed 150 million people a man who cannot fit into the glove that supposedly proves he is a murderer. Cochran walks to the jury and delivers a line that burns itself into American consciousness forever. If it does not fit, you must acquit. The jury deliberates for 3 hours and 45 minutes in a trial that lasted 252 days. After hearing 72 witnesses, after reviewing 45,000 pages of transcript, after 9 months of the most complex DNA evidence ever presented, in a courtroom, they deliberate for less time than it takes to watch a football game. And then they have a verdict. Legal analysts cannot believe it. 9 months of trial, 4 hours of deliberation. Court TV commentators go live with stunned faces saying this is unprecedented. This is impossible to read. A short deliberation usually means acquittal. Juries that believe the defendant is guilty tend to agonize longer, but nobody's willing to say it out loud yet. Judge Lance. 𝐂𝐫𝐢𝐦𝐞 decides the verdict will be read the following morning, October 3rd, to give people time to gather. This decision means that for one night, 150 million Americans go to sleep not knowing. They go to bed arguing about it. They go to bed certain or uncertain or somewhere in between. They go to bed with the question that Boris Yeltsin asked Bill Clinton hanging over everything. October 3rd, 1995, 10:07 a.m. Judge 𝐂𝐫𝐢𝐦𝐞 takes his seat. OJ Simpson is brought in. The jury files in. Fred Goldman is in the gallery. Kim Goldman, the Brown family, Marcia Clark, Christopher Darden, Johnny Cochran, Robert Shapiro. And somewhere outside this room, Sidney and Justin Simpson, who are 10 and 7 years old and who have already lost their mother and who are about to find out whether their father is going back to them or going to prison. The clerk stands. She reads, "We, the jury in the above entitled action, find the defendant, Orenthal James Simpson, not guilty of the crime of murder in violation of Penal Code Section 187A, a felony, upon Nicole Brown Simpson, a human being. Not guilty of the murder of Ronald Lyle Goldman." Cochran pumps his fist. One African-American juror raises a fist toward OJ. Robert Kardashian, OJ's friend and attorney, the man who carried that infamous bag during the Bronco chase, looks at OJ's face in the moment of the verdict and later says, "I read his face. And I had a feeling it was not the right verdict." Robert Kardashian, his own lawyer, his own friend of 20 years, looking at his face in the moment of acquittal and feeling in his gut that something is wrong. Outside the courthouse, Los Angeles erupts on two different frequencies. In black communities across the city, relief, celebration, a sense that for once the system did not convict a black man on the strength of evidence assembled by officers who had proven themselves capable of lying. In white communities, devastation, rage, the conviction that money and fame had bought freedom for a murderer. One verdict, one city, two completely different experiences of the same moment. That is not just the story of OJ Simpson. That is the story of America. October 3rd, 1995. OJ Simpson walks out of the courthouse a free man. He gets into a car with his children. He goes to his Brentwood estate. He is photographed on the golf course. Within weeks, he talks about finding the real killers. He never does. But the Goldman family is not finished. Fred Goldman, Ron's father, a man who sat through every day of that trial and watched his son's killer walk free, has one more move. He sues OJ Simpson in civil court for the wrongful death of his son. The Brown family joins the suit. The civil trial is different in almost every way from the criminal one. No cameras in the courtroom, no Mark Fuhrman to destroy, no race card to play, because the judge specifically prohibits it. A different jury, less diverse, drawn from Santa Monica rather than Los Angeles. And crucially, a different legal standard. In a criminal trial, guilt must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. In a civil trial, the standard is a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not. In the civil trial, Nicole Brown Simpson's diary is admitted as evidence, something the criminal trial excluded. The diary describes the domestic violence, the fear, the obsession. OJ is required to testify, something he avoided in the criminal trial by exercising his Fifth Amendment right. Under oath, in the civil court, he is cross-examined for days by Daniel Petrocelli. The photographs of him wearing the Bruno Magli shoes, all 31 of them, are admitted. The DNA evidence is presented without the shadow of Mark Fuhrman over it. The civil jury deliberates and finds OJ Simpson liable for the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. They award compensatory damages of $8.5 million, then punitive damages of $25 million. Total, $33.5 million. OJ Simpson never fully pays it. He restructures his finances, moves to Florida, where state law protects certain assets from civil judgments, and lives off his NFL pension, which also cannot be touched. Fred Goldman spends the next 20 years trying to collect. He collects fractions. OJ plays golf. Then in 2007, OJ Simpson walks into a Las Vegas hotel room with a group of men, some of them armed, and takes sports memorabilia that he claims was stolen from him. He is arrested, charged with armed robbery and kidnapping. This time, there is no dream team that can save him. This time, there is no Mark Fuhrman to discredit. This time, the jury, in Las Vegas, convicts him on all 12 counts. He is sentenced to 33 years in prison. He is eligible for parole after 9. In 2017, the Nevada Parole Board grants him parole. He walks out of Lovelock Correctional Center a free man again. He is 70 years old. On April 10th, 2024, Orenthal James Simpson dies of prostate cancer in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is 76 years old. His family issues a statement. There is no confession. There is no final reckoning. He dies the way he lived the last 30 years, maintaining his innocence, insisting the real killers are still out there, owing the Goldman family $33 million that he never fully paid. Fred Goldman issues his own statement the day OJ dies. He says, "I have no feelings about OJ dying. My son is still dead. Here is where we land. Here is what you know now that you did not know 90 minutes ago. You know the evidence. Every drop of blood, every fiber, every shoe print, every DNA match, every financial record, every diary entry. You know the defense. Every argument Cochran made, every flaw he found, every crack he drove a truck through. You know the jury. You know the verdict. You know the aftermath. And you know, because you lived it just now in this documentary, that the question Boris Yeltsin asked Bill Clinton is the same question that has never gone away. It is the same question that generates millions of internet searches every single month, 30 years after the verdict. It is the question that every person who was alive in 1995 still has a strong opinion about. It is the question that people argue about at dinner tables and in comment sections and in college classrooms where it is used to teach criminal law and race in America, and the power of celebrity and the failures of the justice system all at once. Did he do it? The jury said no. The civil jury said yes. Robert Kardashian, his own friend, who stood by him through everything, said he read his face at the moment of acquittal and felt it was not the right verdict. OJ himself wrote a book called If I Did It in 2006, a hypothetical account of how he would have committed the murders if he had committed them. He called it hypothetical. The Goldman family, who won the rights to the book as part of their judgment, republished it with the word "if" made so small on the cover it almost disappears. The title, as far as they are concerned, is simply I Did It. Nicole Brown Simpson was 35 years old. She had spent years documenting her own terror and building an evidence envelope as if she knew someone would need it one day. She called a women's shelter 4 days before she died. Ron Goldman was 25 years old. He was going to return a pair of glasses. He was going to open his own restaurant. He fought back against whoever killed him with everything he had. They deserved more than what they got. They deserved to be alive. And the least the rest of us can do 30 years later, with every piece of evidence laid out in front of us, is say their names. Remember who they were, not just what happened to them. Nicole, Ron, this one was for you. That is the full story of the OJ Simpson case, the murders, the Bronco chase, the dream team, the glove, the verdict that split America in half, the civil court that said guilty, the $33 million never paid, the man who died insisting he was innocent, and 2 people who never got to find out how their lives would have turned out. If this documentary hit different, if it gave you something new, something you did not have before, please hit the like button right now and subscribe to Crime Case Vault, because we are just getting started. Every week we bring you a case that matters, told the way it deserves to be told. No filler, no fluff, just the truth, as hard and clear as we can make it. And now I need your answer, right now. In the comments below, 1 word or 1,000 words, I do not care. Tell me, guilty or not guilty? After everything you just heard, what do you believe? Drop it below. I read every single comment. This is the conversation that never ends. Let's have it. New documentary coming very soon. Until then, stay locked in. And remember, the most important trials are never just about the defendant. They are about all of us. Take care.